Professor Chaim Soloveitchik might have alluded to this already, describes the focus of the Tosafot dialectics as collation, contradiction, and distinction. What does that mean?
Yeah, just a nice way to say it, but I think it's very basic as follows. Again, I would say first step with all studying with Professor Soloveitchik as well when I was a kid. Anyway, and I have my doctorate is from his Dr. Vater, Yaakov Katz in New York. I'm a Ketzela from 100 years ago, the great Professor Katz. Anyway, the first thing again is close reading. Before you start, throwing the thumbs, close reading. The collation, again, collatio, by the way, some of this is based on medieval Christian learning, which is fine here, right? Lectio to read, collatio to bring together, right? Collation. Now, collatio doesn't mean to find all the contradictions. It means to just get everything on the table that needs to be on the table. You then go to, well, what does that collation reveal? Is everybody voting the same way, or do we have Sugya A voting, Republican and Sugya B voting Democrat, lahavdil, right? If there are contradictions, and there are, the assumption of the Tosafot is that Ravina Rav Ashi produced a unified Shas, mitzvah liyashev, right? In other words, unless there's an impossibility, and sometimes Tosafot says, midrashim chalukim, sugyot chalukot, never the twain will meet. But 99% of the time, they come out with what he's calling distinction. In other words, dialectic as a concept presumes that the contradictions are resolvable, right? You have two, if not opposite, conflicting propositions. You create a circle, not in a silly way, but you create a structure into which both propositions fit. This one is covering case A or concept A. This one is covering variation B. So the fact that one sugya seems to say chayav and one sugya seems to say patur, and it's all talking about the same shomrim, no, but it depends. How was the shvira established? How was the arrangement, canceled, and so on. So that's what Tosafot does. So read it, bring it together. By the way, in the Christian terms, lectio, collatio, and then you get to disputatio. That sounds like what's happening in Israel. Anyway, never mind that. We're having a little discussion there. So that's what they're doing.
A small dispute.
Right, a little minor. Right. The answer is that Tosafot usually can figure it out. I don't know if we're a little not so well today, but again, and they will not just figure it out in gross terms. They will work out all of the moving pieces, right? There are 4 sugyas. So the one that does it this way will say, here's how we do one, here's what. In other words, it's a very organized resolution. That's the whole point. And that's what he means to say, I think, by distinctions. Not distinctions that we're left with problems. How do we fit all the moving parts into one lovely solution? Marshal, Reb Shlomo Luyer, who lived in the 16th century, one of our early Achronim, who was a big connoisseur of Tosafot, not that he needs my approval, he knew about different versions and different tractates. He's got a lot to say about that. In the introduction to Yam Shel Shlomo, his 2 favorite Sfarim are the Rambam, because he gets everything together seamlessly, and on the other hand, in almost the opposite direction, right, are the Tosafot, Sha'asu et ha-Talmud l'kadur echad. The Rambam gets everything together, but the Rambam will mow down sugyas. If there are 2 sugyas, one says chayiv, one says potter, the Rambam will say, we paskin like the chayiv sugya. How do I know? Yerushalmi Tosefta, I know. He's got, he basically says, let that one go, keep this one, which was the Gaonic method as well. Tosafot says Marshal makes the Talmud kikadur echad, a spheroid. Hafchuhu v'gilgaluhu. It's like a matzah ball. It goes around and around and around. And there are no sharp corners. Everything comes together, not in their work. They can say different things, but in the Talmud. Right? So those are your 2 options. You can either say Talmud has 2 possibilities. I know to pick sugya 1. I know this is the sugya lahalacha. One, and there are other ways to do it. That's the Rambam's way to do it. I'm saying this very broadly. Gaonic way to do it. Tosafot says, make it all a very smooth, it's one big happy Talmud here. So that's how and that's what Professor Soloveitchik is ultimately says. Distinctions, yes, there are distinctions, but here's how we handle them. In other words, here's how all the distinctions are smooth. Now, once in a while, again, Tosafot says, this doesn't fit. Rarely. Once in a while, Tosafot says, very rarely, we don't get this Gemara. There's something wrong here. Very rarely. Oh, Visham. Professor Orbach has these things in his magisterial work, Balei Tosafot, but that's so uncommon, you'll almost never find it. Generally speaking, they managed to get us through in this way.